Hi, my name is Mr. Hall, and today I'll be presenting a technology-based lesson on William Shakespeare's work Hamlet. So for this unit, I contacted Miss Amber Casey of Russellville High School, who teaches English for 9th and 10th graders predominantly, and asked her what she thought the greatest problem she faced within her English classroom concerning technology. When asked, she cited a student distraction from technology as being the greatest problem she believes she faces. Her argument was that her students have a better grasp of technology provided for them than most would give them credit for, and without the constant stimulation when using the devices, students can become easily distracted and obstruct their own learning through web browsing and accessing sites they should not be accessing when at school. So for this, I wanted to come up with an interactive, engaging sort of lesson that weaves technology with the usuals of the English classroom. So I wanted to do a multi-step process with technology that includes activity, organization, and assessment. So for activity, I wanted to implicate the Google AR and VR system uh, as provided by Google. It is an app that contains numerous AR and VR programs that allow students and others to experience various locations, artworks, and such that they would never have the opportunity to before. And we will also be using the Google Cardboard viewers as seen here. For organization within this unit, I will be using LiveBinder, which is a free online source where students, teachers, and any others can easily organize websites, essays, or anything else they believe would be useful for units, essays, homework, etc. And finally, for the assessment portion of this unit, I wanted to use Clip, which is an online podcasting website, as you see here, that is free to use and students can very easily access and make short podcasts that relate to this unit, as you will see later. So for this lesson, I wanted to focus on student experience of literature through different periods with a selection of a singular work and how it has been adapted throughout time through various medias and technological advancements. So our focus for this will be William Shakespeare's 17th century play Hamlet, which will be told through the original written play, a film version, and a modern way of performance. So the first part of this lesson will focus on a reading of the original play. Readings will be conducted both in and outside of class, with students responsible for keeping up with any missed readings for themselves. Students will have the option of in-class readings be conducted either individually, read out loud, or if they're more comfortable, through an audiobook, which will actually be helpful in further integrating technology within the classroom. A discussion of the work will follow right after the reading has been completed. For the reading, I want students to be focusing on the major characters, plot points, and themes, and be able to easily discuss and debate them. Any additional readings I will have for this unit will be found at a LiveBinder account, and most of this will be focusing on the major themes and how Shakespeare has progressed them through his work. Following the reading, there will be a viewing of the 1994 Disney animated film The Lion King within class. The Lion King is commonly cited as the children's version of Hamlet. It includes many of the same plot points, characteristics, and such that you would find in Hamlet's work, however, obviously filtered through a very different lens. Students should be thinking about how elements of Shakespeare work have been integrated within the film for its own narrative, and how the film media itself displays the work in a very different light. The film will be presented entirely in class, so students will not have to worry about any outside viewing, and any other resources I want students to read on the film will also be found at LiveBinder. So the final way that I want students to be experiencing Shakespeare's work will be through an interactive production that is told through a very modern lens. Using the Google VR/AR system, students will be able to witness a shortened interactive version of Hamlet that features very modern minimalistic sets. So this is about an hour-long telling of Shakespeare's play, and as you see to your right here, this is a part of the play. This is actually a reading of the To Be or Not to Be section of Shakespeare's work, and it's a very different way of looking at the play, in my opinion. So in groups of about 4 to 7, each class period students will have the ability to use the Google Cardboard viewers to try to experience the play through the Google VR system. I would hope that students are catching maybe what has been removed from previous versions to shorten it and why that might be, and how this modern way of displaying Shakespeare's play is either positive or negative concerning maintaining Shakespeare's original intentions. So the main point of this lesson is to have students really thinking about how a progression of time and progression of media has really influenced this original story. So after reading each iteration, I want students to have the opportunity before assessment to actually discuss with their peers concerning how the tale has progressed and their own views of each iteration. Students will have the ability to circle up, so to say, and when provided by an open question by me, should be able to openly talk and debate the lesson and discuss, what's their favorite aspects of each version, maybe what's their overall favorite version, and the pros and cons of each. And hopefully this will help them start thinking about the final assessment. So there will be two main ways that we will be assessing during this lesson. The first will be a series of quizzes that will be given after each of the outside readings of Hamlet. And these quizzes will be very simple. They're just here to focus on whether or not students have actually been keeping up with the readings outside of class. And they will mostly focus on major plot points and characters. So very simple aspects of the story that if students have been keeping up with, they should be able to easily answer and get points for. So for the final assessment of this lesson, I wanted to move away from an essay-based final assessment that you usually see in the English classroom. This is mostly because, especially in Miss Casey's case, most of her work with technology concerns essay writing and the research that comes along with that. But in my opinion, that is the most easiest way that students become distracted is with researching, and how easy it becomes to become distracted when researching online, because usually they're going to sites that aren't actual research tools, and it just becomes very easy for them to get distracted. So for this final assessment, I wanted to focus on a group project that will continue the focus on experiencing numerous multimedia programs. So the project will be in a podcast form, and I want to include both a presentation and discussion format. Students will be presenting what they know on the lesson and discussing with their peers their different viewpoints. So for this assessment, we'll be using Clip, which is an online podcasting source free to students and anyone else. You just make a simple account and just like that, easy to use. In groups of about 2 to 3, students will use the online source to create a 10 to 15 minute long audio discussion of the 3 works. Within this podcast, I hope students will be discussing their favorite method of telling Shakespeare's story, the benefits and problems with each iteration, and the major threads that can be found in each version, and how this relates to the overall viewing of Shakespeare's original story, Hamlet. So for this assessment, the first part will be students having to write out a script that outlines their main points, who's talking when, and what sources they'll be citing to support any claims they make. This is just to make sure students are on the right track and that I'm not just throwing them in the deep end automatically. Any sources that they should use should be found at that LiveFinder folder unless they find others online and want to ask me if they can be pre-approved. The script does not have to be necessarily word for word, but it should be a thorough sample of the content that should be expected within the podcast. And after the script has been approved by me, students can get started on their final project. To make the podcast, students will need to select one leader responsible for making an account and later emailing the submission. The email used should likely be your school email unless you would rather use a Google email. The account is made, the students will click the upload button to create their podcast as shown on the next slide. The podcast needs to either be recorded on the Clip site or uploaded from another device onto the site. Students will have class time allotted to record in a specific location that I will designate them to, though there is a chance that you might have to work on this outside of class. And after the podcast is recorded, you can email the link to my email here at chall36@atu.edu. So as you see here, I just posted some quick pictures, the easy setup. You just pick a username, email, password, and now sign up. And then after, this will be the big yellow button that you will click record. Very simple, and it uploads it right to the site. You can also upload here, and that will give you the option to upload from an alternative source if you recorded, say, on your phone or another podcasting website. So to the left here, you see we have our podcast rubric for the final assessment, and the major categories will be research, information, teamwork, and presentation. So for the research portion, I'm looking for the accuracy of any factual information and evidence given. So this will mostly include any of the cited articles or resources from that live binder or any others that I pre-approved. The information section concerns the thoughtful discussion by each student with clear points given by each student. Remember, this is, even though you're doing this in a group, I will be grading you individually also. So if one person doesn't have very many clear points, but another person does, that other person is going to receive more points than the first person, because that's only fair. The information portion concerns any thoughtful discussion, like I said. Teamwork, however, will include the script as well as the equal participation. So as the information section is discussion, teamwork is participation. So make sure that everyone is putting the same amount of work into this podcast and that no one is doing more or someone is doing less than anyone within the podcast. And the presentation, of the podcast should be very clear. Hopefully there will be no audio problems. Hopefully you'll be maintaining the time limit, and everything should be sounding well prepared, i.e. no major audible slip-ups, no students stuttering throughout this presentation, no one sounding like they're coming with points on the fly. It should be very neat. So for this, the critical alignment will be focusing on reading literature 11.12.7, which is analyze multiple interpretations of a story, drama, or poem, and evaluating how each version interprets the source text. So this will be done through our different viewings and readings and interpretations of Shakespeare's original story, which will be focusing on reading, film, and performance art. We also have speaking and listening 11 through 12.5, which is make strategic use of digital media, textual, graphical, audiovisual, and interactive elements, and presentations to enhance understanding of findings, reasoning, and evidence, and to add interest. And this will be done through our final assessment, which again is purposeful in going against the usual essay-based final assessments and offering students a chance to use a multimedia source to present their ideas. And that'll be it for this. Thank you guys.